Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium, and I'm super thrilled, to be honest with you, to have this special guest with me today. This is Mary, and she is the owner of the Rustic Raven, which is in South Carolina. But the good news for you is you don't have to be in South Carolina to really benefit from her services because of this wonderful thing called the internet. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why or how I know Mary, and then we're going to let Mary jump in and tell you some things about what she does. Now, I may even get some of this wrong, but she is, I think you're a shaman, right? You're a shaman trained?
Yes.
And she does QHHT, which I always get is quantum healing hypnosis or quantum hypnosis healing. I get the two H's mixed up, but touch, right? So she's got a lot of training. This is the thing that I wanted. She's got a lot of training, but I'm going to tell you guys, training is training. It's all about the person and their own energy and their own abilities. And what I've experienced with Mary and why I'm so excited to have her on my channel is really and truly profound healing. Okay. Y'all know I don't play. Profound healing. Now, so what that looks like from my perspective is that, and I've had sessions with Mary. I've had multiple sessions with Mary, as in multiple. Okay. So I don't normally do that, but I found the healing that I received through her healing energy and her process to be so profound that I just needed to go back and sort of clean up some more things. Now, for me, what that meant was I went, from my perspective, I would go into a meditation with her, which is more like a hypnosis / meditation, very easy to do. And then she guides you into the area of your life that you really need some healing around. Perhaps that is a past life, or perhaps that's even your current life, a relationship, with your mother, your father, your sister. That was my experience. And I was able to go back and heal things in new ways, in deeper ways that I have never been able to heal. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know that I needed to heal them. I just knew that I was having this experience, right? I mean, that's all we know. It's like, I'm experiencing this thing. Well, you tell Mary what you're experiencing, and she immediately zeroes in on what the problem is. And then she says, let's go fix it. So the other thing that I experienced with her is soul retrieval, and I can let her speak more to that. But my whatever understanding, whether it's, I don't know if my understanding of it is, full or if it's just partial, but in my understanding, we give pieces of our soul away to people that we love or people that we give our power to. So you could love them like your mother, or they could be someone that would be a family member, or even a roommate, a friend, a peer, anybody. And in my understanding, and she's going to correct me here in a minute, I hope, that you've given that power away. Perhaps then you've created a soul contract around giving that power away. And then that soul contract keeps popping up in your life over and over again, a pattern. So when you notice patterns in your life, at some point, hopefully you go, what does this keep happening to me? Well, if you say that to yourself, that's when you really want to dig in. You really want to learn more about that, because if it's a pattern, it's a repeating lesson. Spirit is bringing it to you again and again and again so that you can perhaps learn it. Okay. So you have a lot of tools to learn these lessons. One of the tools would be to get a reading with Mary, because she will zero right in on that, and she'll help you understand it. And she'll help you understand it in a way that you don't need to experience it anymore, and then transmute that to light. So what did I get right? And what would you like to clarify that maybe I didn't get as right, Mary?
I honestly feel like you explained it much better than anyone else who's ever tried. Because when we're dealing with energy, you're dealing with things that people don't readily see. It's more things that you're feeling or experiencing throughout your life. But yes, with the soul retrieval process itself, that is when we go through traumas, woundings, anything that emotionally hurts us or that is hard to mentally comprehend. And a piece of our energy or soul is broken away at that time and kind of gets stuck in that loop, which is what the contract is. The contract really acts as a mental thought. A contract is a mental thought that we keep repeating to ourselves that then becomes like a padlock on that time loop. And it's trapped a piece of our energy, repeating those same experiences over and over again. And since everything starts within, as within, so without, if your mind is in a time loop and your energy and your remembered experiences, even subconsciously, are in a time loop, then you keep repeating the same patterns externally as well. You keep dating the same person over and over and over again, things like that. So yes. And then even like what you said about giving pieces of our power away to people that we love or we care about, that can be true as well. We're constantly sharing energy, and we just swim in it. Honestly, is if we were fish, the tank or the water would be the energy that we live in. So we're constantly picking up on other people's energy and vibrations, and we don't realize it, but we can walk into a room and immediately know the vibe that's going on there. And that's because of that energy. And we can just sense that. We have our energy centers that perceive and filter everything that we're picking up around us. And each energy center perceives it in a different way. So I think that you explained that part pretty well as far as that goes. And I do want to say thank you for what you said. And it's definitely been an honor getting to work with you, because you're a pretty powerful person yourself and have a lot going for you. And I know that you help a lot of people as well. So essentially what I do, I think that the signature process you were picking up on is how I want to empower you to do the healing. Old timey shamans or shamans of old, a lot of the time they don't really care about your emotion. You go in, they cleanse you, they pull things from your body, and then they send you home. But when I was working this process, my particular teacher really, she's a Pisces, so she was very emotion based. And she really liked working with emotion, even though her teacher did not. And so under that influence, I also started to see from my own experiences, even further than that, how yes, emotion is super, super important and involved in what we're doing. But even further than that, it's the thought processes and the beliefs that are causing the emotions that are creating this reality. So belief work is essentially what I get down to the core of. So through my gifts of vision and just being able to read energy using my own energy, just honing that sensitivity that I have, that's when I'm able to kind of cut through the cracks, so to speak, and see what pieces, what beliefs are trapped within your body and within your mind. So if we're having an emotion over and over again, that can be like a homing beacon. It can show us exactly. It can guide us if we allow ourselves to flow with that emotion. It can guide us directly to the belief that we're repeating within our minds, consciously or subconsciously, that's causing that creation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so she said a lot of really important things, but I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to break it down for you and then we're going to move to another type of healing that she does. It's so interesting that you can have this experience. So some of you guys know that my mom died when I was 7. And I went to therapy, right? I mean, I did all the things. I grew up, I became an adult. I tried to take my own power, my own path. But there were some things that I still needed to work through from before my mom died. And I never, ever, did you hear me say before, right? Before, you would think that the seminal part of the whole experience would be my mom died. But there was a whole time as she was sick that I was getting fed certain energetic, emotional messages as a child. And those energetic, emotional messages became repeating patterns throughout my life. And I didn't understand why are these patterns happening? And just one session with Mary, and she zeroed in exactly on that. And what I want to say too, because I think this is super important, is she alluded to it, but what she does is she guides you. You're doing the work. You're in a visual, it's a like a hypnosis or hypnotic state. You're seeing or experiencing. If you don't see, that's okay. You're experiencing, you're feeling whatever it is, however it is that you're getting the information. You're doing the work. You're experiencing it. You're learning it. You're bringing it into your body, and then you're releasing it. She just is a fantastic at guiding you, because like she said, the shamans would just remove something, right? I mean, that you didn't learn anything when that happened. If I remove the wound that you have, and then you don't understand why you ever got it, you're likely to go get a new one. So this is self-empowerment. But it's guided self-empowerment. So I just think it's phenomenal. I just got to be honest with you guys. So, okay. So, and I also want to say that we all need this, right? It doesn't matter what my skills are or that I'm on YouTube. I'm human. I need the same kind of healing, and I'm on the same path as everybody else. The only thing that makes me different is I can bring spirit in. I can step aside, but that's, in my opinion, no different than being a plumber or an electrician. That's your skill. This is my skill. Doesn't make me any better, any worse than anybody else. I have the same struggles, human struggles, as everybody else. And I go to practitioners like Mary to help me with them. So having said that, we wanted to talk about some different reasons. So I brought up my experience with Mary. So that would be like if you had repeating patterns in your life, that would be a good reason to maybe have a session like this. But also, Mary was just telling me that she works with people that have maybe addictions or addictive behavior. Also people that have had sexual abuse in their background or sometime in their life. And she's able to help those people as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Mary?
Yeah, really kind of what I was going into. I do want to actually thank you for saying the empowerment part, because that's very, very important with this. And that is what makes what I do different than anybody else I know who does similar things, is because in my personal practice, I was guided to find ways that I can get people to go within and see these things for themselves, because then you're actually feeling them and experiencing them and seeing them and knowing them and releasing them on your own. And I think that empowerment is the most important part. I don't want clients who have to come to me every single month for 3 years and then the rest of their lives. I mean, that's money for me. That's great. But what we're here to do is to empower people to heal themselves. And I guide them for the first bit, but then after that, they have the tools that they need to keep doing it for themselves, and then to do it for other people, so that every person can have a piece of enlightenment. So I love that you said the empowerment piece, because that is very, very important. And that's kind of the keystone around how I work. And sometimes I do go in and do that work for them if they're still in a disempowered state. And, but I'm still showing them and telling them and trying to guide them, and little bit by little bit, they're able to kind of see for themselves. But diving into the experiences, really what it is, and I think most healers can agree with me, is that you don't get to be a healer until you've gone through a whole lot of junk. Because when you have a large gift, it's a large responsibility, and you have to be able to experience healing for yourself to be able to heal others. So everything that people are guided to me to help them with are things that I have personally been through and overcome, or things that have happened to people extremely close to me, and I've helped them through it, and I've helped myself through it, and things that I've experienced and healed within my own journey. So this starts as early as birth, and the loss of my own mother, and cancer, and poor health, and things like that. We go into ghost experiences and dark energies, and that goes into addictions, suppressions of gifts, sexual abuse, verbal and physical abuse. Pretty much all of these things that people come to me for, I know have been within me at some point as well, or I've been influenced by in some way. And that's why I can say, hey, I know you can make it through this. I know you have the power to do it. I've done it. It's okay. I understand. I've been through it. You know, I've been through it. So I'm sure there are experiences that I haven't personally been through, but I have the emotional capacity and the energetic capacity to be able to hold a compassionate space for that person to be able to heal.
I agree. And I just want to say, and I meant to say this earlier, but it's hard to explain. So you're in, because I've experienced, you know, a couple of readings, and you're in this, you know, deep hypnotic / meditative state, but you're talking. And so if you know what I'm saying, if you can imagine this, that part of your consciousness is kind of over here. You know what I mean? It's like you're watching yourself. Okay. And I remember her when she would ask me what is happening or what are you experiencing, and I would say something, and then I would figure out, you know what I mean? I would figure out, oh, that's why this is happening, right? Or I would say it, and I could hear Mary's, she's like the best cheerleader. She's the best guide, because she's just like, yes, you know, you can just, part of my, the part of my mind that is still like, you know, clicking around is going, oh yeah, that was good. Mary liked that. You know what I mean? It's like, but you can feel how excited you are for us. I got this sense that you could see, you know, you could put it all together, but I'm still in the cave going, what is this? You know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, and then you're like, yes, you got it. I love how enthusiastic you are. I love how you're right there with me in the process, guiding me if I have questions, or if I become uncertain, or even if I have a little bit of trepidation or fear, you're right there. You know, you're right there with me. You're always there. It's just really a wonderful experience. And I don't know why I'm being guided to say this. Why am I being guided to say this? I'm going to just say it. I don't know. You know, my guides talk to me. So one of the things that happened that I think is, I swear, I don't know why. I don't want to say this, and I don't know why. Okay. So one of the things that happened to me was, so she, you know, in this visual process, you know, you go through whatever you do, you go down the path or whatever, and you come to a door. Okay. So when I came to the door, all of a sudden, all my guides showed up, and like assorted family members in spirit, and they were all happy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm graduating. I got this impression that I was graduating, and I was like, I'm graduating. I'm so happy. And we're all happy. I'm getting chills. Everybody's happy. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I get the door, I open the door, and you know what I saw? I didn't see a stage. There wasn't somebody with a diploma. That was not what I saw. What I saw was my mom on her deathbed in the hospital, which as a 7-year-old, I never got to visit my mom ever. She just disappeared to the hospital, and her purse came back. And that was my experience. So for whatever reason, that was my graduation. I went to my mom, and I remember seeing her, and I thought, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I was so happy. And then I was like, oh, this is heavy, you know? So I went to my mom laying in her hospital bed, and I went up to her, and Mary guided me. She expertly guided me as to what to ask, you know, what are you seeing, or what do you want to ask, or whatever, instead of me standing there like, you know, deer in headlight. And I went over there, and I had this experience with my mom that to this day, is the most profound thing. I got to talk to her and say the things I wanted to say. And she gave me a gift. And this is one of the things that Mary does is, what is the gift? You know, so you did the hard work or whatever, and you're going to get this gift. So I got this gift, and Mary knew exactly what to do. You know what I mean? I got this gift and I put it in my solar plexus and I carry it with me forever. But I think the reason they wanted me to share this with you is that these things can be challenging, right? Life is challenging. I mean, life is challenging, but the reward, that's why I keep going back to the word profound. I don't know, transformational. So that, because I interacted with my mom myself, somebody didn't do it for me. I did it with this guidance. I was able to transform that last contact, that last, time, and transform that into this new energy pattern of love and acceptance and just this beautiful connection. So I don't know why I'm supposed to share this. I don't know why. Maybe this is for somebody out there that needs to hear it. But
well, I like that love connection because I have a Cancer rising. So that means that I'm very nurturing. I like to nurture you too. I like to nurture people, but I have found over time that the most nurturing thing you can do for somebody is empowerment. Sometimes the most nurturing and loving thing that you can do for somebody is saying, I'm not going to help you anymore with this. Go do it. It's allowing them to take on accountability, to face their fears, to become who they're meant to become, and not to overprotect. And so that's really a lot of the experience that you had was me going into this space with you and then me turning off my own lights so that I can't see. You have to see. I can feel, I always keep my feelers on. I'm right there with you. I feel where you are. I can sense what's around us. And I can feel when you've touched the thing that you need to touch, because inside it feels like an explosion of bliss. And that's when I'm like, yes, you got it, because I can feel when you've touched what you need to feel. But if I'm seeing while you're seeing, then we're having two visions.
Wow.
When it's time for you to step forward and see something on your own, I turn myself off, my vision. I turn this off for a second and just allow myself to be in that love space and that feeling space, and know that I'm there for you, know that I'm supporting you, know that we're moving forward together. And I can sense, like I said, where we need to be going, but I have full faith that you're the one being guided. I have full faith that your guides are there showing you everything that you personally need to see. And with you in particular, we had already gone back through the space where we did soul retrievals and lots of different healing processes around the past traumas. So then what we ended up doing in this particular instance was something called recapitulation, where you got to actually have an experience that you felt had been taken from you in your actual incarnation in this life. You never got that chance to say goodbye. You never got the chance to see her. So rather than healing a wounding that already happened, we allowed you to have a brand new experience and to bring closure to that space and to meet with her, because time is happening all at once. So it's not like the past is done. We can go back to that space because it's not back, it's not linear. We can go back to that space and do it differently. And then moving forward in your life from here on out, you have a completely different memory of what happened, a completely different feeling of what happened. And the gift and the reward is so important, because as humans, we incarnate here in order to experience, to have experiences, to have the full range of emotions. Some are really happy, some are really sad, some are very joyous, and some are very painful. But we signed up to feel all of those things, not just some of them. That's the full range. but there's always a gift in everything, because each thing that we get to experience is a learning experience. It's part of what we're here to know and to feel and to learn about. So getting the gift in everything, every lesson is a gift. It's something that we've taken on as our history lesson in a loving way moving forward. So when bad things happen to us, it's not, if we're able to see the gift, then we can move forward in an open and loving way rather than in a closed way, needing to protect ourselves and make ourselves separate, which is really the core cause of a lot of emotional and mental imbalances, is that lack of safety.
Wow. That's powerful. And that's what happened. Like, it caused my heart to open instead of close. And, you know, so you can imagine losing your mom at 7, you're going to have some walls there. Right. So now I just feel this openness towards her and towards the experience. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, you guys, other than it's like she said, it's almost like it rewrites the tape. It re-records over that, or changes it. And somehow or another, it just changed my vibration around that. My literal conception of it has changed, and blessed. I feel now that it's blessed. So, so it's just phenomenal. It's actually, it's amazing. So, and as we grow through our lives, our soul is growing, and the universe is, we're creating lessons for ourselves. We're experiencing an opportunity at every turn to grow a little bit. So I think also what you're saying is too, when these lessons come, instead of like closing up, you know, let's open up and let's be a little bit more receptive and open to what we can learn and what we can gain from that.
Yes, and that does go back a lot to belief systems as well, and our beliefs and our thought processes. So you almost have to understand that we are spirit and human at the same time. Spirit side of us knows nothing but oneness. It knows nothing but neutrality, oneness, flow. That's all it knows, the only thing it knows. Now, the human side of us is the complex part, because our brain is an energy reducer that doesn't fully comprehend anything. And there's lots of primal parts of us back from the beginning of time. And those primal parts of us tell us that we need certain things in order to be safe. And those things actually do play a part, because yes, if your physical body is not safe, it will die. And then the spirit doesn't have a place to live in this incarnation. So your body and your human side is always telling you that you're not safe and you're going to die. So what we need to be able to do is to balance the two sides so that the spirit can override our humanness and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's not really danger here. Something's just unknown. Something's just changed. Something's just growing. And then we can allow ourselves to be open. So keeping that in mind, back in primal times, people might have lived in packs or groups. Animals sometimes live in packs or groups for safety reasons. And if you leave the group, then that means certain death in some place. So bring that up to current time. That means to us that any rejection or abandonment to the ego means death. Now, going back to that same primal time, everyone within the group system and within the village had their own thing to do, their own skill, their own way of contributing to the whole and to the village. So if someone was sick or ill, or like literally could not contribute to the whole and to the village, if someone was unable to have any skill or provide for anyone else, then they were literally just leeching off of the group, and a lot of the time would be put out as loners out of the group. Therefore, they are now worthless, rejected, and abandoned. And that means certain death. Bring that into the present time. We don't live in a place like that anymore. We're a completely modern society. Everything's different, but there's primal spaces within us and within our emotions that say, I am rejected, I am abandoned, I do not have worth. And to the ego, that means I will die. And that's why we have to constantly be following our emotions into our thought processes, finding where we're telling ourselves these things and releasing those beliefs, transforming those beliefs, rewiring neural processes, and allow our energy, our spirit side, to take over and say, no, that's not happening right now. I am whole within myself. I have worth because I'm incarnated. I am one with all that is. And then we can move forward in a healthy and flowing and free way.
Wow.
I forgot your original question, actually.
No, I love that. Never mind whatever the original question was. That was perfect. So going forward, could you share with us some tips on how to do what you just said? So basically, we have the human side and we have the spirit side. And it's so interesting because spirit has been talking to me a lot about that, about how, we have this human side and we have the spirit side. We can't always be in spirit, right? I mean, we're human, we're living in a human experience. Right. We're sometimes, I think, ascension or whatever our community is sometimes can ask us to be a little bit too much in spirit and downplay the fact that, we're human and things happen and, life happens. Like you said earlier, we're joy, sadness, pain, happy. It's all mixed up together. But there's some things that you could recommend us to help us sort of be one with spirit, to transcend the human foibles or the human condition as it is with everything that's going on, the chaos. What are some of your suggestions?
Integrate your duality.
Okay, I'm gonna have to write that down. Like she just said, you see what she did? Integrate your duality. Sure, let me write that down.
Okay.
One moment, please. Integrate duality. This is on my to-do list for 3 p.m. today. You're gonna have to explain that for me.
So just listening to the things that you were saying, I was just feeling what was coming up. A lot of that is actually healing your divine feminine and your divine masculine self, understanding what those mean to you and how they interact with each other within you, and then also project outwards. This also means allowing yourself to fall into that sadness, to see the shadow parts of you that up until this present moment you've chosen not to look at or you don't want to look at, and accept those parts of you. Any part of you that feels dual or at odds, meet it with kindness, meet it with acceptance, meet it with love, and bring it back into the center, because that's where you find centeredness. It's not always about a balance. Yes, we want to be balanced, but it's more about integration and allowing ourselves to be one within until we can be in a space where we can be one again with spirit. So yes, we can be too much in spirit where suddenly, and I actually like to say this, there's 3 schools of Buddhism. The first school of Buddhism was more about the self, where monks would kind of go into their caves and meditate. And it was a lot of self-work, which is great. That's wonderful. We all need self-work because that changes the overall vibrations of the planet. But as we can see in Indian society, the inner self-work that they were doing left a detriment to their community, and their community became very poor. Now, then they became a second school of Buddhists, and the second school was more focused on the community and bringing healing to the community and teaching community members how they can meditate and how they can be a part of their spiritual self as well. And then there's a third school that's a little bit different. It's based more on the support of those community members and the Dalai Lama and stuff like that. But I wanted to mention those first two schools just because it's not all about the self and the spirit. It's also about the physical and what we can do outside of ourselves. And once again, I forgot your original question, but I feel like I had an answer for it at some time.
It's integrating. We're talking about integrating our duality. I wrote it down. I'm not kidding. Integrating our duality. So like integrating our shadow self, integrating our joy with our sadness, integrating, talk more about that. That's fascinating to me.
So a lot of the time we get offended by things that people say, but we're really only offended because somewhere inside of ourselves, we believe what they say is true. If someone came in here and just call me some random name, just do it. Just do it, Susan. Call me a name.
A good name or a bad name? Okay, silly. How about silly?
Yeah, I can see where I'm silly. So I really wasn't offended or triggered in any way about that.
Because you've integrated it.
And accepted that about myself. But also someone can come in and call you dumb or ugly or stupid or things like that. And those are things that aren't actually true about yourself. But if you think that they're true because you have a belief about them, then that emotionally triggers you. And then we're on the offense, and then we're closing ourselves off, and then we're trying to keep ourselves safe. And then we're also on the outside. So we have low self-worth, and then it all goes back to the original things. So if we're able to work through our belief work, our feelings work, and kind of see where we have all of these parts of ourselves, where we believe that we are ugly or where we believe that we don't have worth, all of these things, then we can work through those things and release them and start integrating all of our parts, because our shadow side and all of these things, they're not like just bad things or flaws. I don't feel like people are born inherently flawed that way. I feel like we're just born with a wide range of gifts. So this is just an example. One thing that I had to work through many, many years ago with partnerships, love partnerships, I should say, is jealousy. And so when looking at jealousy, at first I thought to myself, I need to release this. I need to get rid of it. This is toxic. This is something that just has no place in my relationship at all. And then over time, I realized this is a gift. This is part of who I am. It's just imbalanced. So if it's too imbalanced this way, it comes off as irrational jealousy. But if I bring that more towards the integrated center, I realize that was my divine masculine telling me, what do you hold as sacred? And me having to try to figure out, what do I hold as sacred? How do I protect that? And why do I feel like it's going to be taken from me? Wow. And so then every time that comes up and I feel that jealousy, I can immediately tap in with my masculine self and say, is there real danger here? Let's observe the environment. No real danger. No one's going to die. No one's actually leaving me right this second. Then be quiet, be still, be loving. And that's what integration is. It's looking at your divine feminine parts and seeing what parts of you are getting stuck. The key to it, I remember your original question now. The key to it is not getting stuck in any particular emotion or belief. It's allowing yourself to flow through. So we can look in and check in with our divine feminine self and see what we hold as sacred, where creative energy is, what we think is beautiful. Allow ourselves to flow through all cycles and seasons and to really be present with our wildness and who we are authentically underneath. And then allow that part of us to communicate with our masculine side and say, this is what I think is special. Protect it for me. Protect it for me. And then it's our masculine side's job to be able to say, I'll hold this as sacred. If anyone steps on that boundary, I'll tell them, hey, that's not okay. But at the same time, I don't perceive any danger here. I'm just going to observe for a while. And those two parts working together that way, once we learn that we can do that, it will become more subconscious, and we'll be able to shift emotion and shift thoughts in the moment as we work through our day-to-day lives and become more calm and centered and peaceful and less triggered and reactional and defensive.
Wow, that's amazing. So you use the example of the feminine going to the masculine, and the feminine saying, these are the things that I feel strongly about, that I would like the masculine side of my energy to hold space for, to protect. If we reverse that, what would the masculine come to the feminine to ask the feminine to do?
Yes. And the reason I use that example is because a lot of people, when they've been through traumas and they've worked through their traumas, they, like, the last little level they have to push through when they're finished with their trauma is subconsciously they believe that they allow the trauma to happen. So if we're looking at sexual abuse victims, for instance, yes, we can work through the abuse, but somewhere at the very core of it, they feel like a part of themselves didn't protect themselves, and therefore it's their fault. And so that's where the feminine has to inform the masculine, hey man, this is special to me. I need you to show up for me. Now, I like to think of the masculine and feminine sides as like a garden and a gardener.
Nice.
Bear with me for this little analogy.
Yeah.
So with the garden, we're thinking of all the cycles, all the seasons, the wildness, things sprouting up however it wants to. And it's beautiful and it's intuitive. It comes up from darkness. The seeds, they all pop up from darkness, because darkness is the womb space. It's the space where any and everything can be created from. The nothingness is where everything comes from. And then the masculine side, in this particular analogy, is the gardener. He observes the garden. He sees what's sacred. He comes in and he prunes the garden, because sometimes the garden's getting a little wild and something needs to be pruned here and there. He also allows in certain things. He allows in certain worms to aerate the soil and bees to pollinate, maybe even snakes here and there. There are things that are allowed into the garden that the garden may not readily think is great, but it serves a greater purpose and allows it to continue flourishing. But the gardener, through his wisdom and experience of observation and watching the garden and seeing how it grows and listening to the garden, also knows when there's danger and knows when someone's trying to come in and stomp on the flowers. And that's what he protects from. But when he comes to the garden for himself, he's coming to be clothed, to be fed, and to be sheltered, to be nurtured. So there is part of the masculine that needs our own feminine. He needs us to show him what is there to observe. He needs us to show him what wisdom is to be had, what experiences there are, and also for the nurturing aspects. And in that we find that they're actually not separate from each other at all, that there are feminine parts within the masculine and masculine parts within the feminine. The rose has thorns on her, and that is her masculine protection. Same thing with the gardener. He has feminine parts to him because he's nurturing that garden. So they're not really separate at all, but we do separate them in our minds to be able to understand those parts of ourselves.
Wow. That is an amazing analogy. I love that. And I love the way you brought it all back together, that the rose has the masculine and the feminine, and the gardener himself, herself, has the masculine and the feminine together. Mm-hmm. And they do have different roles sometimes, but they're also integrated, which is what you're talking about. That is amazing.
Yes. And of course, all of this masculine, feminine is inside of everybody. We're not talking about a physical male or female. That's just the expression of masculine or femininity. But everyone is whole within themselves, and you don't need a partner of any sex to complete you. So,
right. Fantastic. And that's also the integration, right? Fantastic. That is fantastic. So would you suggest, I mean, what are some daily practices or weekly practices? I mean, or books or any tools that you would suggest that people might benefit from to empower themselves?
In this particular way or in general?
Let's start with this particular way, and then we'll also talk about general.
In this particular way, I would say probably through gratefulness and love energy, and then also through ritual. So when looking for the feminine, we're talking about gratefulness and love energy, waking up, thanking your body, thanking the food that you're putting into your body and where it came from, thanking your body for what it was able to do throughout the day, thanking your intuition for telling you certain things, is a lot of love energy and flow, and just allow yourself to have experiences. And then I also say ritual, because that is a very masculine action thing to do. And what ritual does is it honors something. Now, rituals don't have to be real big, like burning a prayer bundle necessarily or anything like that. It can be something small, like the thankfulness prayer itself. A ritual could be saying your intention before you eat. A ritual could be saying what you intend for the day before you get out of bed. The ritual could be taking a shower every night and intentionally cleansing your body, but it's an action-based thing rather than just a thought or feeling-based thing. So now we have a feeling, an emotion, and an action all rolled into the emotion of the heart space.
That's amazing. And it's amazing. Okay. So I love that. I'm a big fan of gratitude lists. And I know everybody's heard me talk about it, but in my experience, my personal experience, if you did even once a week, but once a day, whatever, 75 things you're grateful for. In my experience, what happens is when you get to that point, wherever that is, whether it's 40, 50, or 60, and you're out of things. I'm out of things to be grateful for, but I've got to get to 75. So what you're going to do is you're going to look around for something to be grateful for. And that, my dear friends, is where the shift happens. That's where you shifted your energy, because you realize, oh my God, I love those curtains. I never thought about it before, but those curtains are perfect. Okay. So now I'm grateful for something new that I've experienced in my life on a daily basis, but I never knew to be grateful for. So now I am grateful. I've shifted, and now I've got maybe 15 things to find. Now I'm going to be looking at the sky. I'm going to notice that flower that's coming up out of the ground. Oh, I didn't know that bulb was breaking the soil and blooming. You're actually intentionally looking for something to be grateful for. So I love the idea of the ritual and the gratefulness. It's a big deal. It's a big energy
really
shifter.
Yeah, I don't think people always realize, and then it becomes easier and easier and easier as time goes on. Just for instance, I sometimes co-teach one of my courses with another teacher, and there was one particular day that she just couldn't come. She's from out of state, and she couldn't come, but I didn't know she couldn't come until the morning of the class. And I had another client that I had to get to before the class, and I didn't know what I was going to teach. And so it seemed like this huge cluster of chaotic energy, but I got up and I started moving. And as soon as my feet hit the kitchen floor, I felt this sudden surge of joy move through my body. And I stopped for a second and I said, I am so thankful that I can show up and do this for her and do this for the students and do this for myself. I'm freaking amazing. Like, it gets easier and easier and easier the more you find to be thankful for.
I love it. And I love that, because this is a really good point, is in the face of adversity. So you guys don't know this, but this particular recording that we're doing, I kind of had to go through a lot of, hurdles. It had to go through a lot of hurdles. The time got moved back and forth when we finally, and things kept coming in, like other responsibilities, but we were like, no, we're committed. And then even when we got on Zoom, her computer wasn't working. That's why she's on her iPhone.
And I didn't even tell you this part, but I'm not even in my normal room because the air conditioner upstairs broke last night. So I had to find a room to be in.
So, right. So I wonder about that, because I also think that spirit guides us. And when the doors open, we're flowing. But how do we know when we've had adversity, challenge, or hurdle? How do we know that's not spirit saying, hey, Mary, Susan, this isn't the time. Don't do this today. How do we know that? How do we know where it's just Mercury retrograde, like we joked, or is it really divine guidance? Because what you said to me is, no, I feel like spirit is going to work this out for us. And as soon as you said that, things sort of fell into place. It's so interesting.
For me, it's like almost the emotion, because it's the strangest thing, because I had a thought a week ago that I needed to find my phone stand because I didn't know where it was. It's been missing for a year. And I was like, okay, I think I need to find that. And then I just never did. And then all of these other things happened. And last night I was trying to, because of other responsibilities, even though I knew it really probably shouldn't interfere with this, I was trying to rearrange a time. But then that time didn't work out right. So what ended up happening was that I actually had time for a lunch break after my first client before we got on. And so now my body is more nourished and more calm than it probably would have been if I had stepped straight into this after my client. Being in this room, the only thing I can think of for me being in this room is that maybe the person who actually owns this room needed the rent from me for today. Maybe she needed a little extra abundance, and me renting the space from her to do this is helping somebody else. Or maybe I needed to be in this room because it's our color therapy room and someone really needed this color light. You know, there's always little things like that that can be explained. And then with the phone stand thing, you know, the computer wasn't working. So then suddenly I remembered, oh yeah, I was supposed to find the phone stand. So I feel like I was getting messages the whole time of what we were supposed to do, but I couldn't see the big picture yet. So it all did finally flow into place. And it's about following the emotion of it, I think, because if I had a negative, or I don't like to say negative, but a low vibrating emotion, or felt like my heart space closing around having this interview today, or like something else needed me more, then I probably would have seen all of these as signs to maybe slow down or take an extra look at what we were doing. But I didn't feel that at all. I just felt very like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything's open. This is just part of the process.
That's what she said. And note that she said she hasn't found her phone stand in a year. And then she's like, oh, if you'll just give me a moment, I'm going to look for my phone stand. Like literally 2 minutes later, she comes back with her phone stand, which she hasn't been able to find for a year. But I also want to say, I want to point out that this is important, that Mary she has been intentional about checking in with her body. So you might, whoever's watching this, you might feel stress about an interview and assume that that's a lower vibration. But in reality, that stress is just like the jitters about interviewing somebody or something, right? Or the jitters about going to meet that person. So it's always a good idea to go inside and say, now, how does my heart feel? Right? I mean, let's kind of just go straight to your heart instead of the other energy that might be fluctuating around you. And that's what she did. She checked in and she's like, no, everything is good. We just need to sort of work with this wonky energy. And as soon as she said that, no, I think spirit's going to fix all this. It kind of just all sort of fell into place.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people might remember we talked about the energy centers and how each energy center perceives something from a different perspective. So it's always about coming back to the heart space, because the mind is sometimes going to tell you, I am worried, or fall on some belief system, or not be in the present moment, worried about what's going to happen in the future, or what could possibly go wrong, and all these different timelines. The sacral in that same way, that's our adrenals. And so if it's excited about what's happening, you might misinterpret that as nervousness, or ungroundedness, things like that, because your body doesn't know the difference. So it's always about coming back to the heart space and saying, hey, bud, what's going on with you? Are we open? Are we flowing? Are we ready for growth? And that's where we know to step forward.
Oh my God, I love it. I just love it. I totally love it. So talk about, if you don't mind, briefly, and we'll wrap this up in a little bit, talk about your classes. So tell me about the classes you offer, and give us the name of your website too.
Okay, the website,
because they can find out everything they need to know about you from your website.
Yes, the website is www.therusticraven.net. So that's TheRusticRaven.net. And that has all of our current healers on it, me included. And when you click on them, it tells you what services each one provides. And then we also have our courses. We teach Reiki courses. Every November, we do a Reiki 1. Every May, we do a Reiki 2. And then we're starting in September, our Reiki Mastership course. And that's a series. It's not a one-day workshop. We also teach the medicine wheel. So I'm teaching the shamanic medicine wheel that's based in Alberto Villoldo's lineage from Peru. We also teach advanced shamanism. Me and my teacher, we teach that together. And that's just a little bit about energy mastery, mastering the energy of this self rather than focusing on healing work of others and things like that. Nice. And I'm currently putting together a different type of course. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but I have started typing it. So that one is literally, I'm just getting downloads constantly, and I'm just putting it all out there on paper. And when it's done, we'll see what kind of course that leads into, but that's going to be something that's completely unique. That's completely from my downloads and my personal experiences with healing work, and my own influences in my life, kind of like my services are a mesh of everything that I know and everything that I've experienced and everything that I've been influenced by to bring something unique. You did use the term shaman earlier, and I tell people that's just a name. That's just a word so that people kind of know what I do, but it's not what I define myself by. I don't define myself. I don't place myself in any one particular role. I just think I have all of the roles within me as healer and teacher and shaman and all of these things, light worker. But I also work so much in the shadow realms as well. So, bringing that out of people so that they understand those parts of themselves. So there's really no one thing that can define what anyone does, but and then in my personal experiences, it's kind of a mix of Reiki, a mix of shamanism with soul retrieval and ancestral healing and destiny retrieval and all of those different spaces, illuminations. And then it's also a mix of theta healing and working with different brain waves and hypnosis, DNA activations, energy activations. There's really just a whole lot that I've experienced, that I've learned about: color therapy, sound therapy, crystal therapy, dream interpretations, everything that we have experienced, that we've seen, that we've learned about kind of comes into one vision. And once I kind of get one tool on board, spirit guides me into something different that I'm doing and brings in another piece. And so the learning never stops, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That is how I am. I hope I'm learning the last day on this planet. I hope I learn something, right? That is fantastic. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a question. So these classes are on Zoom or online or in person?
They're different for each one. The Reiki classes are in person or via internet. We can do this. I have Google Meet. I don't use Zoom a whole lot. I use Google Meet, or we can even use Facebook Video Messenger, honestly, however, whatever's most comfortable and available for the client at the time. The Medicine Wheel course, that one is actually a series of recorded training videos that I've made. And so the person gets a 2 to 3 hour training course video every month for a year. And then they get 2 student meetings with me, like 2 mentorship meetings with me to follow up and see if they have questions and to guide them along their journey every month for that year. And then the advanced shamanism course, that's a 13-month course. And that one is in person or via internet hookup. That one we use Google Meet, or we record them also and can send out the recordings for that.
Fantastic. But you're in South Carolina. Where are you in South Carolina?
I'm in Florence, South Carolina. Okay. Yes.
So any South Carolinians out there or anybody that's nearby, you have a lot of in-house services that you offer, like the color therapy and things.
Yeah, pretty much all of my services can be done long distance, except for the like the essential oil therapy, the raindrop therapy, and then the color therapy. Now, color and sound, those are just vibrations. So really, technically, I could send that color vibration to you, but for the effect of it, you might want to be here where you can see the lights and have the lights shine on your physical body. So all of this could technically be done long distance. But if you're one of those people who like to see and feel the touch and things like that in person, it might be really good.
Awesome. That is amazing. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I feel like Spirit is telling me you're going to be offering a workshop. And I don't think you're doing that now, right?
What kind of workshops? Sometimes we do like cacao ceremonies or different things like that.
Nice.
What kind of workshop, Susan? Tell me about it.
Well, it seems like a multi-day workshop that is more about the dualistic or the integrated healing. It feels transformational. It's not, I don't think it's one that you're offering now, but it's coming. And it's going to be very successful. It's going to be very well attended. And I do think it's going to be in South Carolina, someplace, maybe there in Florence, but I think that if you wanted to do something like that, I think people would come to you. I think people would fly, drive, however they would get there. So yeah, I think that
maybe what I'm building.
That might be what you're building. Spirit is lighting a fire under you. I know you know this. They're wanting you to not be so detailed, I'll say, about it. That but it's beautiful. Your voice is needed. Okay, your voice is needed, and your talents are needed.
Susan, I'm a Capricorn moon.
So am I. How is that even possible? Wait, what is your sun sign? What is your sun sign?
Leo.
Leo. Okay, thank God. So we match our rising and our moon. What does it mean to be a Capricorn moon? So go ahead, call me out. What is it? Call us both out.
Capricorns are kind of like the workaholics of the zodiac. So they're always working, they're always growing, they're always building, they're always learning. Some people kind of get that confused with being money driven. I don't think it's money driven, but they are an earth sign. So there is a certain reciprocity and equal balance that goes into what they're building. They're always going to build something. But I feel like what's your sun sign?
Virgo.
So you got extra.
I got extra, all right, girlfriend.
The Virgos are very structured and don't touch my stuff kind of thing, like everything neat and labeled. So you've got extra. And then the Cancer, oh goodness. Anyways. You're beautiful.
Yeah, well, I want to know, I'm not a very good Virgo because I'm not very neat. If you could see this place, it looks it's not neat. It's very interesting where I'm neat and where I'm not. You know what I mean?
Wherever it's important, wherever it's needed.
It's important, right?
But kind of, it's been said that if you have a Leo as your sun sign, really what that does is it amplifies whatever your moon sign is, which means that my Capricorn is amplified by the Leo. So that's extra work and extra learning and extra growth. And what I will say about a Capricorn moon is that a lot of the time they're good stewards over what they're given. And if you give them something, they're going to multiply it. They're going to keep it going. They're going to keep the growth. So, yes.
So for you guys watching, if you don't know what we're talking about, and I'm not an astrology person. I'm sure maybe Mary knows more, but we have our sun sign. That's the month you were born in, the day you were born. But if you know your birth time, if you can find your birth time on your birth certificate or something, you can go online and easily find your rising sign and your moon sign. And those 3 signs are really important. That can, when you take all the different qualities of all 3 of those signs, you can get a better view of who you are here. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly, Mary? Because I don't know.
I think that was great. That was great. It just shows different aspects of your personality and emotional states and things like that.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about, if you guys want to know. And so, really quickly, I just want to, I don't know why, but I like in 5 minutes, we'll wrap this up. But they're also asking me to kind of circle back to ghost or dark or dark energies. And I don't know why I'm throwing all 3 of these together, because they don't go together, other than they're all 3 across the veil, maybe, but ghost energies and aliens, like that kind of thing. You also work with people. I know, I don't know why they're together, but it's like all 3 of you guys go in this bin. That play nice. But you do work with people to help them understand whatever experiences they're having or have had in those areas as well.
Yes. So dark energies and entities and things like that, I have a very unique view of them. I don't see them as bad. I think that all energy is neutral, and therefore a dark energy or attachment coming to you can teach you just as much as a light energy coming to you. And if the dark energy comes to you and is able to attach, it's showing you something about yourself that you need to be able to heal and integrate, because that's going to be a piece that turns into a part of your personal power moving forward. So obviously, attachments and things are perceived as negative because if they go unchecked, they can cause illness, mental illness, emotional illness, physical illness, and there's usually a lot of fear associated with it. But the fear, what people need to understand is that the fear was already there. The wounding was already there. And that low vibration within the self is what's attracting in the low vibration from without. And so we kind of work to release that attachment, heal those spaces, and change the vibrations within the self in order to release that attachment. Now, aliens.
I know. I don't know why they waited to the last minute to do all this stuff, but anyway.
We've got like 2 minutes to talk about aliens.
You can have some extra minutes.
Aliens, I don't even know what to say about them. They're honestly everywhere. So whether we're seeing them in person or whether they're coming through the way that spirit guides come through, a lot of the people here on Earth are hybrids of aliens anyways, because we all kind of incarnate throughout all of space and time and eventually come to Earth. So I don't know a whole lot about my past personal energy as far as aliens go. I know that I incarnated through Atlantis and Egypt and places like that, but I know moving forward, I'm going to be working with Arcturian and avian energies in the future when I'm done incarnating on Earth. So
when you're done incarnating, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. You're going to be working with them when you're done incarnating on Earth, not here. Now, today, tomorrow, next week?
So how I kind of received the vision is that I have 1.5 more incarnations on Earth.
A half? Dang.
What? I feel like I might die like halfway through an incarnation in the future. But 1.5 more incarnations in the future as like a human person doing the work that I'm doing to bring us towards ascension or towards enlightenment of the earth and things like that. And then I still feel like that's probably like a 200-year period at least. And that's probably the amount of time it's going to take for the earth to take a shift and to take a change from my own personal perspective of my and interpretation of my visions. So then kind of what I saw was that I would be working in these other spaces, but as almost a mediator between them and Earth. So bringing messages back and forth and acting as guiding factors and things like that. So I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I know that aliens are everywhere. Sometimes they come to us as guides. Sometimes we can actually see them. Sometimes they come to us looking like human people, but there's aliens in the body. I feel like the government knows this. And I feel like we're about to go down a crazy path, and then the government will come and take me away. and tell me to quit speaking.
Uh-oh. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, we'll protect you. We'll create an underground bunker.
I love that idea. Thank you. I feel very supported.
No, it is true. We're laughing, but I think it is true that being on YouTube and being, and maybe it's my energy left over from being burned at the stake or something in 1725 or something, but I often feel that sort of like big brothery kind of energy that's sort of watching the psychics because our community has really exploded, and there's a lot of people here that are speaking the truth, that you can prove that the predictions are coming true, and that's a little bit threatening, I think, to some of the power centers, but we're here for a reason. I think that we're here for a reason. And I think that we're divinely guided and we're divinely protected. So it's going to be all good.
It is. It really, really is. And there's multiple levels to it, you know, because once again, I don't think anyone's good or bad. I feel like everyone just is doing their thing, you know, what they came here to do, whether it's in a balanced or unbalanced way is up to them. So I can almost see how, on one hand, I feel like, and I'm going to whisper this, on one hand, I feel like the government should fall and money systems should all be burned and everything should start over. But then on the other hand, I also see why the government does what it does and why there are distractions, because people don't always understand, and there'd be mass hysteria and panic, and then everything would fall and there'd be looting and violence. And, you know, so I see both sides of that as well. And I just feel like whoever is on the path to bring the truth out and to bring the enlightenment, those are the ones called to do it. And the ones not called to do it, good for you too, man. You're on a different path. That's fine. It's about the balance.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I do think that what you're talking about is actually the energy that I pick up for this summer, and the guides call it dissolution. So dissolving. I don't think it's going to happen to that degree. It should happen to that degree, but it's not going to. So we're just going to kind of chip away at this construct that we've made, this really human construct that is a little bit too rigid for spirit. I think that we have really doubled down on good and bad and right and wrong, and we've forgotten that it's very much more of a flow or a fluidity. And that's kind of the lesson we're here to learn. So
exactly. And I've been getting a lot of downloads recently about the illusion as well, and how it's really all just being trapped in the thought, in the mind. So interesting.
It's going to start breaking apart, I think, because it needs to. It's too rigid. They just keep telling me it's too rigid. We have to kind of break things apart a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So if everybody has stayed to the end of this, you got some extra information that perhaps you didn't know you were going to get. I really want to thank you so much, Mary, for coming on my channel and talking to people. I really can't tell you how much respect I have for you. Thank you so much. I just think that your abilities and how you've used them and how you've, listen, abilities are one thing, right? I was born a psychic and a medium, but how we become the people we are, how we look at our shadow, how we integrate our duality, how we integrate our masculine and feminine, that's the hard work. That's the really, really tough work. And that's what I feel like you've done. And I feel like that you mirror for us and you guide us into doing. So I just want to thank you so much for being out here and being that guide for us.
Thank you so much for your kind words. It really means a lot to hear that. And I am so honored to get to be here in this space because, you know, like I said, I'm all the roles together, which means I'm also the student and I'm also the person seeking guidance, and I'm that person as well. So it's really great to be able to be in this community and to hear from all of you guys and you especially, and to be able to sit and talk with you and hear what you have to say.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. So you guys go check her out. Check out her website, therusticraven.net. I'll leave the information in the description box below, so you can just click on the link. I can't recommend her enough. And I'm sure all of her, you've got other practitioners there as well that offer different things. And I'm sure that some of those practitioners would also offer some pretty amazing things as well. And let's all keep an eye open for this new workshop that's coming, because I'm going to be there. So the last thing, do you have like a mailing list that you keep people apprised of things?
No, I don't have a mailing list. Our Facebook page kind of has all of our events, and so does our webpage. We post all of our events on our webpage that are coming up. And, you know, we have a healing sound event. We have a Native American man here who does crystal singing bowls and drumming ceremonies, and he's coming up soon. And then we have a shaman coming down from North Carolina. His name is Roland. He's someone who I deeply admire and respect, and he's coming down to do an energy cascade in June, at the end of June. So all of our events are always posted on Facebook and on our website. Or anyone can call at any time or send a text. We're at 843-229-3973. That is the shop cell phone. So if you don't want to call, you can always send a text to that number and we'll get back to you.
Awesome. That's awesome. You've really piqued my interest. Now I'm thinking I need a road trip. I think I need to go to South Carolina. Okay. I love South Carolina anyway. Thank you so much, Mary. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the channel. Everybody take really good care, and we'll be back with you soon right here. Bye, everybody.